Chapter 78 of Married Thrice to Salted Fish. An hour later, the two returned to the carriage. They saw Huan Tong and Hua Lu sitting outside the carriage, sitting shoulder to shoulder. What? An hour passed. What happened? You can't break away. My confession seems like this. No, 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 no. Huan Tong was shouting excitedly, pointing at the fireworks blooming in the night sky. Hua Lu had her face in her hands, quietly admiring the beautiful scenery. Despite how enchanted she was, she still didn't forget to think it would be good if young Master Hao could see the magnificence of the Lantern Festival up in heaven. One was still and the other active. Huan Tong, who was noisy and shouting, no longer looked so steady in comparison. Huan Tong was a year younger than Lin Qingyu, and he too was almost a week crown. Gu Fuzhao and Huan Tong were of the same age, and although there were a lot of times when Gu Fuzhao acted strange, he would never be careless when the situation called for him to be calm. Just like now, the two of them had just expressed their affection for each other, but Gu Fuzhao didn't seem to be too excited, and he didn't talk much the entire way. If he hadn't heard his answer clearly, Lin Qingyu would have thought that he had misunderstood. Perhaps Gu Fuzhao didn't like him that much. Lin Qingyu quickly rejected this idea. He wasn't blind. He had seen every little bit of how Gu Fuzhao interacted with him. He wasn't stupid either. The mountain has trees, and the trees have branches. My heart has you, yet you don't know. Gu Fuzhao poisoned himself in order to return to him. No matter how sleepy he was, he would wake up to see him off to work. He could force himself to get out of bed in the early winter morning to pour him tea. If this wasn't love, how could there be lovers in this world? Oh my gosh, so freaking true! If you guys are not lovers, then there are no freaking lovers in this world. Then why was Gu Fuzhao being quiet? The groom saw Lin Qingyu and Gu Fuzhao and said, General, Madam, you're back. Will you be heading back to the mansion now? Lin Qingyu glanced at Gu Fuzhao. Gu Fuzhao, slow to react, opened his mouth to say, Let's go back. Lin Qingyu understood it somewhat now, and he couldn't help but smile silently. He took the lead in getting into the carriage. As soon as the light medical fragrance got farther away, Gu Fuzhao seemed to recover his senses. He grabbed Huan Tong and asked anxiously, How do I look? Huan Tong was perplexed. How do you look like? The general looks about the same as usual. Gu Fuzhao said bitterly. But I feel like an idiot, the kind who can't even walk straight. Huan Tong carefully looked at Gu Fuzhao. Now that the general mentioned it, you do seem to be a lot stiffer than usual. Gu Fuzhao's back straightened and his whole body became even more rigid. At this time, the groom gave him another fatal blow. Just now, when I saw the general and the madam walking together, the general's arms seemed to be swinging in tandem with his steps. Gu Fuzhao, ... Lin Qingyu's voice came from the carriage. Aren't we leaving yet? Gu Fuzhao took a deep breath. I'm coming. As soon as he entered the carriage, the surrounding noise instantly receded. With the door closed, it felt like only this piece of space remained in the entire world. Gu Fuzhao sat down beside Lin Qingyu. The groom let out a shout to spur the horses on, and the carriage started running. Lin Qingyu's scent lingered around Gu Fuzhao once again. Gu Fujiao's Adam apple bobbed, and he said, Qingyu? Lin Qingyu looked down at his hand on his knee. Mm, did you hear me just now when I said I wanted to date you? I heard you. So, you really did hear me. Gu Fujiao still wasn't completely at ease and confirmed again. I said, You said, I will, I want to. I have liked you for a long time. I liked you when I read about you. When you died, I cursed 18 generations of the author's ancestors. I am willing to get up early for you, to fight for you. I will accompany you wherever you want to go, and I will give to you to spend all the money I make. I will protect you, and even if you wake me up in the middle of the night, I won't ever be angry with you. I like waiting for you. I like watching you deal poison. I like listening to you, and I want nothing more than for you to always be happy. I like you. I want to be with you. Lin Qingyu repeated Gu Fujiao's words word for word. These words, I heard them all. Let me just go and lie down, 'cause my poor heart can't take this confession. It is so freaking adorable and so magnificent. I love it. This is the best confession scene I have read for a very, very, very long time. And I'm just like grinning ear to ear. And I cannot tell you the happiness I'm feeling right now. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna go scream. Gu Fujiao was stunned, and he could hardly believe it. No way. Was it that incoherent and illogical? Why was protective followed by won't ever be angry with you? How are these two even connected? Lin Qingyu raised his eyelashes. Holding back a smile, he said, You'll have to ask yourself that. Gu Fujiao lowered his eyes and said sullenly, Just now, I was completely uncool, wasn't I? Lin Qingyu didn't forget to learn about Gu Fujiao's hometown dialect. He asked curiously, Does cool mean handsome? Gu Fujiao nodded. Angry with himself, he said regretfully, I wanted to deliver lines with ease to appear witty. That would have been a lot more handsome. I have already thought about it, you know. I was going to use poetry to express my feelings for you. I was gonna appear classy and say a funny joke to ease the awkward atmosphere. But this is my first confession and I have no experience, so I was so fucking nervous. Gu Fujiao gave a low laugh. Don't think badly of me, Qingyu. I will try my best to be a lot more cool in the future so that I won't embarrass you. If you found my confession is too confusing, I can confess again, but you're going to have to give me a little time to prepare. No need. Lin Qingyu raised the corners of his lips. I think the one just now was pretty good. You were very handsome. I liked it a lot. Gu Fujiao was in a daze. After a while, he said, Then, are we together now? Lin Qingyu's cheeks went slightly red. He grabbed Gu Fujiao's hand that seemed not to know where to go. We are together now. Instantly, a tremor ran throughout Gu Fujiao's body, paralyzing his heart, his limbs, every corner of his body. And Lin Qingyu had done nothing more than just grab his hand. Before the confession, the two of them had held hands. They have even hugged and slept together, but never had he felt this kind of burning. Is this what it's like to be in a relationship with someone you like? It's a bit heady. It was near Gishe by the time they got back to the general's mansion. It was quite late and they were all somewhat tired. After washing up and changing clothes, Gu Fuzhao stood in front of the bunk bed, feeling a bit at a loss. Sleeping on the same bed on the first day of a relationship, wouldn't that be moving too fast? Gu Fuzhao asked tentatively. Hey Qingyu, should I climb up to sleep now? Lin Qingyu paused. He nodded and said, All right. After Gu Fuzhao got into bed, Lin Qingyu blew out the candle. The room went dark and only sources of light were the clear moonlight shining in from the window along with the light of the lanterns under the eaves. This night, although Lin Qingyu was tired, he didn't feel sleepy. It was quiet in the upper bunk, and when he thought that Gu Fuzhao might already be sleeping soundly, he couldn't sleep even more. It was the first time they were officially in a relationship and unexpectedly made him a man like a girl harboring thoughts of spring. He kept tossing and turning the entire night, unable to fall asleep. This thing called affection cannot be underestimated. Lin Qingyu didn't fall asleep until it was almost dawn. In his sleep, he heard someone calling General. When he opened his eyes, he saw that it was Huan Tong calling Gu Fuzhao to wake up. Lin Qingyu was usually the one who woke Gu Fuzhao up, but today even he slept in. Huan Tong had no choice but to brace himself and be the one to do it. Huan Tong didn't want to wake up the young master, so he kept his voice low. But instead of waking up the general, he had disturbed the young master's sleep. Lin Qingyu sat up. Go and prepare the general's uniform. I will get him up. Gu Fuzhao was dragged out from under the quilt by Lin Qingyu. Yawning, he got out of bed. Noticing that Lin Qingyu's complexion was not very good, his sleepiness disappeared immediately. Qingyu, didn't you sleep last night? Gu Fuzhao looked down at Lin Qingyu, helping him dress, and asked, Why weren't you able to sleep well? Lin Qingyu raised his eyes and glanced at him. What do you think? Turned out he wasn't the only one who felt flustered. After one night, Gu Fuzhao seemed to be back to normal. Lin Qingyu saw a smile appear on his lips, and Gu Fuzhao said, Dr. Lin had looked so calm, his heart like still water. I thought our pledge of love didn't mean much to you. Lin Qingyu's cheeks burned hot, and he couldn't help but retort, That's right, it really isn't much. I'm not flustered at all. Gu Fuzhao simply didn't believe it, and he smiled happily. You're already losing sleep over it, and you're still being stubborn. Lin Qingyu said, unconcerned, Are you happy seeing me lose sleep? To be honest, a little bit, Gu Fuzhao said honestly. But losing sleep over me this once is good enough. You have to make sure to sleep well in the future. Naturally. After Gu Fuzhao got dressed, Lin Qingyu saw him off at the gate of the mansion as per usual. Before getting on the carriage, Gu Fuzhao suddenly asked him, What do you guys in the Dayu usually do after getting together? Are you allowed to seek pleasure and make merry with complete abandon? No, Lin Qingyu said indifferently. According to the Dayu's customs, even when you are in a relationship, you must still abide to etiquette. Revel in the feeling, treat with courtesy, joy without wantonness. The smile on Gu Fuzhao's face disappeared. Then, Treat it as though I never asked. Lin Jingyi felt a little like laughing. Get in the carriage, don't miss the morning court. Gu Fuzhao stood still and said slowly, no, but the rules you mentioned are rules for people who have pledged their love but have yet to be married. Since we are already married, why are we still revel in the feeling treat with courtesy, joy without wantonness? Lin Qingyu said, then what do you want? Gu Fuzhao smiled. Since the Dai's rules are not suitable, we should follow the rules of my hometown. With that said, Gu Fuzhao leaned down and touched his lips lightly on his forehead. Woohoo! He didn't have to wait freaking 8 years for that forehead kiss. Finally! Like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, parting with barely a touch. Lin Qingyu only felt a heat on his forehead. Before he could fully feel it, Gu Fuzhao's scent that shrouded him was already fading. Gu Fuzhao straightened his body and caught Lin Qingyu's bearing, composed and unruffled, as though just now had been nothing but the wind blowing against his face. At the same time, Lin Qingyu's pale cheeks quickly flushed. His long lashes also trembled slightly. Gu Fuzhao could feel his heart about to melt. He smiled, as expected of Dr. Lin, so unruffled despite being just kissed, unlike me, whose heart is about to jump into my throat. Lin Qingyu calmed down and said, you collapse all too easily with a single blow. So, in Gu Fuzhao's hometown, the custom after marriage was just forehead kisses? And here he thought he would do something more. He was thinking too much. It seems that people from Gu Fuzhao's hometown were more reserved people uninterested in self-indulgence. Lin Qingyu, you should actually know what happens in Gu Fuzhao's hometown. He is going so freaking slowly so that he doesn't scare you. The boy is such a freaking green flag. I'm sure Lin Qingyu will be the power bottom. I don't care, he will take the reins because our salted fish is always trying to be overly cautious. But to be honest, I do love it. He always waits for the consent, he always considers the other person's comfort, and if they are actually comfortable with any of the actions. He doesn't do anything overly intruding personal space. He just does few things like playing with his collar and his hairpin, and like a forehead kiss. Very super low risk and low risk for awkwardness, but still shows that I care for you. And that is so freaking sweet. Not long after the new year, Lin Qingyu received news from Zhang Shiquan that he had completed all his assignments. Rumors that Queen of the Northern Border was a man and that the king was furious upon finding out spread like wildfire in the north. Naturally, shadow guards of the Tianji camp sent to the north by Shao Cheng to look for Shen Haoshi also caught wind of this. The shadow guards of the Tianji camp spurred their horses to full speed, rushing to report this matter to their superiors. How the Tianji camp informed the emperor and how the emperor reacted upon hearing it, Lin Qingyu did not know. All he knew was that the emperor flew into a rage and his bouts of headache reoccurred. It had now reached the point that he needed to stay in bed to recuperate. Even so, the emperor first summoned the empress and berated her. He then, that same night, summoned all his confidants and trusted ministers to discuss the matter of the northern border. The war in the northwest had yet to cease, and the treasury had been empty for a long time. If there were if there was disloyalty in the northern border at this time, the court would be besieged on both sides. The army's provisions wouldn't be enough. They would be short on soldiers and would have no general to lead them. They would simply have no way to withstand it. The only fortunate thing was that, until now, this was nothing more than an unconfirmed rumor. The king of the northern border had also sent a letter wishing for the emperor's good health not long ago. It was no different from other such letters sent before. A palace maid turned out to be a man. If this matter was true, the empress, who was in charge of the palaces, could not escape responsibility. When Lin Qingyu went to greet the empress, this was what was weighing on her mind. This palace has already checked the records of the Shangyu Bureau at that time. There was nothing wrong with Jingchun's identity. This matter may just be a rumor, but it caused the emperor to fly into a rage. He has even cast doubt on my ability to govern the palaces. The empress closed her eyes and let out a long sigh. It is simply difficult for me to tell about my suffering. Gu Fuzhao said earlier that the reason why Jing Chen was able to trick everyone in those days was due to Shao Cheng's protection. Shao Cheng's handling of the matter was watertight. Naturally, he wouldn't so easily give the game away. As for the aunt who had covered up the fact that Jing Chen had entered the Shangyi Bureau as a man back then, she was already dead. Lin Qingyu asked, "There cannot be waves without wind. Since such rumors about in the north, there might truly be something doubtful about Princess Jingchun's identity. That the king of the north has yet to attack may simply be because he does not wish to beat the grass to scare the snake." The empress said, "I have ordered people to investigate this matter thoroughly. It has been more than 10 years since Jingchen entered the palace, and the female official in charge of the Shangyi Bureau at the time has already left the palace to get married. It will take some time." Lin Qingyu knew that this matter should not be rushed. So he diverted the topic for the time being and said, "Empress, how has His Highness the Sixth Prince been recently?" With the conversation turning to her child, the Empress's expression softened a bit. "The servants who have been serving Linger have been beaten and thrown out. I have selected a new group of servants to serve in Jinyang Garden. Having had warning from an overturned cart, they ought to know what they should do. The day before yesterday, Lai Fu went to Jinyang Garden to see Lear. He said Lear has grown a little taller and his spirit has improved a lot." Lin Qingyu smiled. "That's good. Even so, I'm still unable to rest at ease," the empress said. "Jinyang Garden lacks a good doctor. If you are free, go and see him for my sake." Lin Qingyu nodded in response. Lin Qingyu left Fengyi Palace, and seeing that it was almost time, he walked towards the Qingzhen Palace. Gu Fuzhao was summoned to the palace by the emperor early in the morning to discuss politics. He should be finishing right about now. It so happened that it was Shao Songxi who was on duty at Qingzhen Hall. When he saw Lin Qingyu, he was a little perplexed. "Didn't Dr. Lin already ask to diagnose His Majesty's pulse this morning?" Lin Qingyu said, "I didn't come to ask to examine His Majesty." "Then that's—" While the two were talking, the discussion in Qingzhen Hall ended. The Prime Minister came out first, followed by Nanan Hao. When Nanan Hao saw Lin Qingyu, his face changed slightly and he took a detour. It seemed he was feeling diffident. Gu Fuzhao did not come out until the end. Meeting Lin Chingyu's gaze, the corners of his lips curved and he strode towards him. Why is the madam here? Lin Chingyu said. I was just passing by. If the general is finished handling his affairs, would you like to come back to the mansion with me? Gu Fuzhao said politely. Madam, please. Seeing the situation, Shu Ying, who was seeing the ministers out of the palace, couldn't help but sigh. General Gu has truly been blessed. It was inconvenient to talk in the palace, so only when they got into the carriage did Lin Chingyu ask, how are things in Xinjiang Hall today? It was all bunch of nonsense, Gu Fuzhao said in a lazy tone. The only useful thing was that Shao Jie did a good job of raising the funds and provisions for the army. The emperor showered him with praises and asked him to help Shao Cheng in managing affairs. Lin Chingyu told Gu Fuzhao what the empress had said. Regarding the case of Princess Jingchen, there is no physical evidence, and the witness is already dead. If the king of the north is of a mind to hide this matter for Jingchen, it would be difficult to draw this matter to a close. Gu Fuzhao said casually, it's not easy to get evidence. Shen Haoshi and Shao Cheng are both witnesses. Shen Haoshi, Lin Chingyu pondered. I hope we can find his whereabouts as soon as possible. Oh my gosh. Oh. Okay, we are getting into the whole plot, scheming, and stuff. But at least they're together. I'm so glad they're officially together. I just wished they had that domestic bliss for a couple of more chapters before diving into this whole schemes and politics.